What's going on, guys? Zach Evnesh here, undergroundstrengthcoach.com, zachevnesh.com. I'm reading an amazing book. Check it out from On Target Publications, The System. It's already firing me up. I've done so much reading about the Soviet and then, of course, the Russian system. And the beginning of this book fires me up. Let me read this little excerpt for you, and I want to talk to you about what it means and why we need to pay attention. So, on one of our trips, a coach told us that theory often determines practice. Now, these American football coaches, they had traveled to Russia, and they were coaching in the NFL and at the university level. So, gives you a little reference. A coach told us that theory often determines practice. However, in their view, practice should determine theory. Rather than the Russian sports scientists dictating what the coaches should do, they looked for the processes producing results, and then they determined why they worked. So the sports scientists were working closely with the performance coaches and the sport coaches. Oftentimes they were as one. The sport coach was also the performance coach. Now, they were highly qualified. That tends to not be the case in America. You might be a good sport coach, and your strength and conditioning knowledge has come from reading 1 or 3 books, a few YouTube videos, and you're piecing things together. For example, at a recent high school visit I made, the workout on the board was 5 sets of 5 floor press coupled with 5x10 dynamic push-ups. I'm not sure what that meant. 10 clapping push-ups after each set. Then it was incline flies for 4 sets of 12. Then it was one-arm overhead press for 5 sets of 15. That's 75 reps per arm. Then it was like 3 or 4 sets of arm work. So everything was pushing minus the curls. There was no pulling. There was no carrying. Who knows what the warm-up looked like. There was nothing about that workout that built performance. And it reminds me how John Welborn always says, people fail at the margins of their experiences, meaning if your experience is just a couple of old books that don't really have performance-driven information, you're going to give them workouts from some sort of old bodybuilding book, which is not what's best for performance. Here's where it gets awesome. There was a strong bond in the Soviet Union between the coaching and science professionals. Hear that again, a strong bond between coaching and science professionals. Somebody like me cannot even give away my training and volunteer to help the local high school team who might have a losing record of 60 to 85% losses in their sport. Here, Soviet Union and now Russia, they didn't care what your role was. It was all about pride in their country, pride for winning. They took pride in that. Now let's get to the next part. However, in the long run, it seemed that the eye of the coach, meaning the coach's eye, what does the coach see? The coach is going to use the art of coaching to determine what they're going to use. That the eye of the coach and the coaching experience determined more than the scientists when it came to what was to be done. So the scientists said, listen, this is what our study has resulted in, but you guys are on the ground floor doing the work. What have you come about with your results? Your results are saying something slightly different than our science says. Let's go with what you're doing. That's what's producing results versus what I have on paper. Following that model certainly helped accelerate the Russian advances of training concepts well beyond the American methods. Now, before everybody starts dropping comments, oh, they were on performance-enhancing drugs. No. If you read Secrets of Soviet Sport and Fitness Training by Dr. Michael Yesses, I believe the first edition was published in '74. I'm not really sure I could find it on my bookshelf right now. The updated version, of course, is called Secrets of Russian Sport and Fitness Training. Now, if that book was published in '74, I read the book in 2003 or 2004. 30 years later, I read the book from it being published. And still, what was in the 1974 book was ahead of what was happening in the majority of American weight rooms 30 years later. They were at least 3 decades ahead of their time. Now here's the next one. Last part. There was an overload of information. That's what the coaches are saying from the book, The System. Johnny Parker, Al Miller, Rob Panarello. Okay, there was an overload of information. And anytime we tried to pry the quote-unquote recipes of training for them, we were told, quote, that depends on the eye of the coach. Now, those of you who have been coaching for a long, long time, we know it's called the art of coaching. You have a long-term plan. You have a plan for the day. You have a short and intermediate plan. But your coaching eye determines what you're going to do. You watch the athletes in competition. You watch where this guy stumbles, where this guy gives up, where this guy breaks mentally or physically. And then your art of coaching changes your program for that kid to train him maybe a little more mentally or slightly different physically. I'm going to leave it at that. That's a lot of food for thought, but those who know, know. Boom. This is an amazing book. I'm only 21 pages in. This book is from On Target Publications. It's called The System. Get it.